Hello and welcome to my little world. So first off, I want to give a shout out to my grandchildren in Japan and say hello. Hello Yumika, hello Tora-chan. And I want to welcome everybody else who's here today as well. And thank you for coming to visit. So today I'm going to talk about the museum in my brick townhouse. But before I do that, I want to give a little update on this doll that I introduced you to last week, which I said was given to me by a friend of my sister's. So when she and her mother saw my video, they gave me some more information. And so this doll was named Babs, and they said that she never had any markings except what was on the box that she came in. So that's not unusual, and I heard from someone else also that not all Madame Alexander dolls had markings on them. But both the friend and her mother were very happy to see Babs all dolled up, looking elegant and appreciated. So I'm so glad that I could give her a new home and lots of new friends. And so they explained that after a few years, her hair started falling out and she looked terrible. So the friend's mother's mother took her to a shop and she picked out a new wig and glued that on the doll herself. So that explains how the wig is glued all the way down. And it was a new hairdo and a new hair color for the doll, and she was happy after that with her. So she said that they lived happily ever after that. So I just wanted to give you that information and share that. And now we are on to the museum in the Brick Townhouse. This is my collection of postcards from l'Orangerie, which was a museum that I went to visit in Paris that has Monet's water lilies collection on the walls. They're huge. They cover these lengths of walls, and I bought these postcards as miniatures, and the postcards like folded up because they were so long. But these are some of his paintings that he did, and they're so huge that that's the way that they display them these days. But I thought it would be fun to use them as a decorative backdrop for this room. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my trip to Paris, because in 2016 I went to Paris for a month, and it was the best and worst trip of my life. It was equal parts misery and absolute wonderful, marvelous magnificence all in one. So the misery part was that I was sick and not feeling well a lot of the time that I was there, and there were many days when I wasn't able to get out of bed. But when I was able to get out of bed, I went and visited some wonderful places such as the Louvre and the Orsay Museum and Versailles and Notre Dame. And I had the best steak of my life sitting across from Sacré-Cœur, and right near there in the Montmartre district, I shopped for clothing, and the things I bought were beautiful and not that expensive, not really any more than I would pay when I shop in the US, but it was just such a wonderful experience to get to shop in Paris and see all the beautiful sights and walk around. But I got lost, because I always get lost no matter how hard I try. And I was so jet lagged. I was living in Hawaii at the time, and so that ended up making my days and nights exactly switched. It was exactly 12 hours difference. So that when I was at the Louvre Museum in the middle of the day, it felt like the middle of the night to me, and my brain was trying to dream and sleep while I was looking at the artwork there. So I also bought these beautiful pair of boots, which were the only shoes I took with me, and they were absolutely killing my feet. I mean, I was limping because I could not walk around. But the couple that I stayed with at their Airbnb were lovely, and especially the older man. He was an artist and he sold his paintings on the streets of Paris, and he was so kind to me. And we had conversations. I got to use my 5 years of high school French, and he knew about as much English as I knew French, and we were able to have some nice talks with each other. And so it was a very difficult trip, but it was also a really wonderful trip. And even though it was hard to get through, I've just always been so grateful for the memories that it gave me that I get to carry with me for the rest of my life. And I'm doing a short about using the pictures that I took when I was there that I would love to share with you. It's either already posted or will be very shortly posted while I'm doing this video this week. If you saw my video about the bakery construction, I showed the facade of my dress boutique, and in it, in the display windows, I have these mannequins, and they're holding these little dolls, and I got these on that trip when I was shopping for clothes. I got these as necklaces to wear with some of the clothes that I found, and I just thought they were so cute and perfect for a miniaturist to wear. I also got to go to an opera when I was there, and I got to go to hear a performance of Vivaldi's Four Seasons at this gorgeous stained glass cathedral. So if you recall, these two sisters were staying in the hotel, and they decided to open a museum in the doll village. So they're very pretty, and I got both of them at Goodwill. And they even have fingernail polish on their little fingers. So they're very elegant, and they love classical art and architecture just like I do. So they have opened this museum in the Brick Townhouse, and there is a chandelier hanging from the ceiling, which was a Christmas ornament. And I have put some paper on the walls that open up that looks like a night sky with stars, and some beautiful artwork in some frames that I got at Hobby Lobby. These are stickers, angels, and a little water lilies picture. In their museum, there's this fixture here, which was a wooden tray, and another part of it. And there's a little Eiffel Tower down there, and some sculptures. I believe that this looks like a shark is carved from bone. I think it belonged to my father. This is a little ceramic piece of hands. There is a column here, a white plastic column with a bust on it. And then there are some things displayed here. This is a picture from the Metropolitan Art Museum books that I have, calendar books. And then these are, I ordered this whole book of like 100 classical pictures from Temu, and I also put these lace frames around them. And I've just displayed some of them here in this fixture. I already talked about the wallpaper on the back wall. And this is a statue which my mother had in her bathroom of the birth of Venus. And there's another statue over here. I don't know the name of this one, but she also had in her bathroom. So I thought they made lovely statues to go in the museum. Here is another one of the little white vases with blue painting on it, and a little jar with a label and a little pearl bead that I attached to the top. So I found these very pretty jewelry boxes on Temu, and so this one has drawers that open up, but I don't have anything in them. And then this is the other little wooden block that I found at Goodwill and thought would make a good end table. And the other, its counterpart, is in the dining room. Here's a little decorative thing that was my mother's. It's a rose in plexiglass. In the center of the room is a table that I've made with a glass candlestick turned over and a coaster that has some grapes on it. And then over here is another jewelry box that I found on Temu, and it opens this way. But again, as you see, I don't have anything in it. And then there's one more jewelry box, which is right here. Same kind of design, only it's a larger couch. And I just thought these were so pretty, and they all went well together to be part of the museum. There's a violin here that I got on Temu, and another bust on some columns. And then I have this whole wall of artwork that is the same set of classical pictures that came in that Temu book. And I will show you more about how I made that. And then over here we have some more angels and some water lilies. Here is the rug that I have in the museum. It's a very beautiful embroidered piece of fabric that was a sample that belonged to my mother. So now I'll tell you more about the frames over here on the wall. I looked into various ways to display this artwork. I looked online at collections of, they were like frames for baby pictures that had 12 openings, or there were some that had 6 openings or 10 openings, and I had 18 of these, and I was looking at those. They're for like baby pictures, like for the first 12 months or something, but the openings weren't big enough. They were only like 1 inch by 2 inch, and these are almost 2 inches by 3 inches. I also went to Hobby Lobby and got a quote on getting just a mat with 18 openings cut out of it. But I was concerned that the openings might not be exactly the size that I wanted, and the quote they gave me for an 11 by 18 mat with 18 cutouts was $48, and that just was more than I wanted to pay for this. So I thought about it, and I decided that the kind of easiest and most economical thing to do would be to make my own frame. And so I got these pieces of wood that are square at Hobby Lobby. And right now I'm measuring them so that I can get the exact opening sizes that I want for these pictures. And then I'm going to cut them into lengths so that I have 3 frames for that hold 6 pictures each, and then I'll put the little dividers between them, and then I will sand them, glue them, and paint them white so that I can use them for my display. So that's what I settled on. So here I've cut and sanded the pieces for the first couple of frames, and the second one isn't sanded yet, but the first one is. And so my solution to the fact that using my handsaw wasn't completely accurate in getting these exactly the same size, what I did was, after I sanded them, I lined them up and I just went from big to small so that when I put them in the frame, they will butt up against the edge the best they can, and then one end will be ever so slightly shorter than the other end, but I think that will work best in terms of gluing. So here it is once I glued it with my Gorilla Wood glue, and I used rubber bands to hold it together while the glue's drying, and filled in the little cracks on the ends with the wood glue, which I will do a little more of on the back of it when it's dry. And rather than measuring the openings, these openings are cutting it so close on these pictures that I just eyeballed it and made sure that each opening was almost exactly the width of this picture. And I find that that works better for me than measuring things, because when you measure things, just like the mark that you make, you can end up being a fraction of a measurement off, and then it throws off how it looks. So that's how I like to do things, is just being able to see exactly how they're gonna look when they're finished. And I also discovered that, I don't know how I got it into my mind that these pictures were 2 inches by 3 inches, because they're 2 inches by 2.5 inches. So when I went to cut my wood, I had marked it at 3 inches, and then when I checked it against the pictures, somehow I had gotten the wrong number in my brain. So they're actually 2 by 2.5, and so that's what I made them for the frames. So here are the 3 frames, and all glued and sanded, and I have given them 2 coats of white acrylic paint. I'm going to give them 1 more coat and then put some glossy Mod Podge on them, and then I will attach the pictures on the back with tape probably, and then use some tacky glue to attach them to the walls of the museum. The frames are painted and Mod Podged, and I have cut out some lace. I'm going to either dip it in Mod Podge or paint it with Mod Podge to make a frame for this Mona Lisa. I decided to mix Mod Podge with water and dip the lace in it and laid it down on this parchment. It's quite wet, and as you can see, the Mod Podge and water mixture was quite liquid. So I'm going to let it dry and see how it turns out. I really like how this frame turned out. It was easy to do, very economical, It's a little bit dark in here, but you can see I left it a natural color, but you could paint it silver or gold, white, black, any color really. So I love this idea that I can make frames like this in the future. And that's it for this week's video. I'm going to be working on the exterior of the Brick Townhouse, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.